Hey guys, what's up? Channer here again, and today I just want to go over my first impressions of the Barbarian in patch 2.3.0, and this is the PTR, very early on in the PTR. I've played the PTR for maybe like 12, 13, 14 hours or so since it's been out for a few days, and I went through some of the builds other barbs are using and did a little bit of research and tested a few things out. And before I get started, I just want to say that these are just my first impressions, so don't take anything I say here for granted. They're just my first impressions. The meta will shape over time, and by the time the patch is released, we might see some major changes that could majorly affect the meta. Anyways, it seems that Wrath of the Waste set is king right now. So the meta bar builds are all using Wrath of the Waste 6-piece. Immortal King seems to be next up, and then Raycore possibly. Leap Quake still looks like no one's gonna touch it. You're not gonna want to use Leap Quake. Right now apparently Immortal King 6-piece is bugged, so the 100% increased damage is bugged, unfortunately. So that kind of limits the testing. As far as weapons go, BIS weapons, Bull Kathos. Bull Kathos are really good right now since you can use a furnace in your cube. And I've noticed with greater rifts, at least, the few greater rifts I did mid 50s, which isn't that high right now because barbs are getting to like the mid 60s, but I'm a little bit behind on gear this season, so I still need to optimize my stats and stuff like that. But offensively, it's really cool because you could use a focus restraint along with a zodiac ring right here. Usually if you use focus and restraint, then you have to put the zodiac ring in your cube, and this reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you spend a resource spending attack, whatever. So when using Whirlwind with really high attack speed, especially when you use Hammer of the Ancients and get 100% increased attack speed from these new Hoda bracers, you need to get to the highest breakpoint, which is 3.33, above 3.33 attacks per second. And now this is with Wrath of the Berserker up, all your buffs, and Hammer the Ancients. By doing that, hitting that breakpoint, you'll get out about 7.5 tornadoes per second, and these tornadoes are doing 2.5k weapon damage, and it's a hell of a lot of damage. So this seems to be the best way to go right now. And then there is, like I said, the focus restraint. What you do with that is you use Ground Stomp. Ground Stomp Wrenching Smash will pull in enemies and generate Fury. Now previously that didn't set off the focus restraint, the generator half, but in this patch it does. So by using the pull, you'll get 5 seconds of the 50%, and then Whirlwind you'll always be whirlwinding, so you'll be able to get the other 50% there and putting out a lot of damage while having the Zodiac Ring in your cube. You're going to be able to keep 100% uptime on both Wrath of the Berserker and Ignore Pain, because remember, you're taking whirlwinds at 3.33 above that attacks per second, whatever you have, 3.4, whatever the case is. And you just need to manage your Ignore Pain, Wrath of the Berserker. Right before your Ignore Pain buff goes down, put it back up. Try to keep Wrath of the Berserker as the only thing on cooldown, if at all possible, when you don't need to hit Ignore Pain. Say your Ignore Pain is back up, but you still have half the buff of cooldown, so wait till it gets to the end. Kind of manage your cooldown so you can keep 100% uptime. It's a little more important when you're like on the single target boss. You don't just want to spam Ignore Pain every time it's up, because every attack is going to reduce one cooldown by 1 second. So it's going to rotate between Wrath of the Berserker and Ignore Pain if they're both on cooldown. But if Wrath of the Berserker is your only ability on cooldown, then it's gonna all reduce the Wrath of the Berserker, and keeping Wrath of the Berserker uptime is really important for your attacks per second and hitting that breakpoint without putting too much in your gear. There's lots of other gear that is definitely viable for Barb right now, like you can cube a Pride of Cassius and then use a Witching Hour, or sometimes if you want a little more defense you could use a String of Ears for melee reduction. There's lots of options. Using Hexing Pants in your cube is really good. We went over all the rings that you would want to use, and then of course just using 6-piece Wrath of the Waste seems to be really good. You want about 40% cooldown. I have a little more cooldown than I need because I have certain pieces of gear that aren't 100% optimized because I didn't play Season 3 too much, so my stats aren't perfectly optimized. But you want above 40% cooldown reduction with the Zodiac Ring to maintain Wrath of the Berserker, Ignore Pain, Ignorance Bliss, 100% uptime. Things like Zephyrian Amulet, Eye of It Lich, Even Star, Fire Immunity, all those necklaces are good. Pretty much the same thing that you want with the trifecta. And yeah, I think that about covers everything. Furnace is pretty much the only thing you're gonna use in the weapon slot. Like I said, with Hexing Pants, I mean, there's a few options. Like I said, you could use the Pride of Cassius there and then use a Witching Hour. You could use Bracers of the First Men to get the 100% attack speed, and then use Strong Arms with the Focus Restraint and use Wrenching Smash, which not only will give you 50%, but it'll also give you the 30% from the Strong Arms. So there's lots of options. How the metal was shaped depends. It'll take a bit of time, but so far this is what Barb is sort of looking like, and I think it's pretty good. It's fun. Unlike the vanilla Whirlwind build where you just kind of held down Whirlwind and then just spam Battle Rage to dump Fury and that's all you did. A little boring, but in certain builds now there's like rotations, like Wrenching Smash, Hoda. So you Wrenching Smash for the 50% bonus damage, you Hoda for the 100% attack speed buff, and then you Whirlwind. And then you rotate back to Wrenching Smash, Hoda, Whirlwind. 5 seconds later, Wrenching Smash, Whirlwind, Hoda. There is something going on right now that's attack speed snapshotting. So basically, like in this build, since I'm not using Focus Restraint, I'm not using the Wrenching Smash. So what happens is, if I use Hoda, I get the 100% attack speed for 3 seconds. So I have my Wrath of the Berserker up, that's important, and I have my Hammer the Ancients buff from the Bracers up, and then I start my Whirlwind. Even after the 3 seconds ends for the Bracers giving 100% attack speed, if I continue my Whirlwind even after the Bracer buff ends, I will still continue to have the attack speed until I interrupt the Whirlwind. So if I did that, then it would interrupt it. Of course, to get the Hammer of the Ancients buff, you actually have to hit a mob, so that's a thing. But so yeah, that's sort of the difference between the two. If you use the Ground Stomp Focus Restraint, obviously the Ground Stomp will break the snapshot of the Hoda Bracers. And yeah, that's what's going on about right now. It looks like on the leaderboards, Barbs are getting to the high 60s, which is pretty cool. I think Monks are a little bit above with the low 70s, and everything else is mid to low 60s as far as classes go, as far as we see on the leaderboards right now. So that's about it, guys. That's those are my first impressions of the Barb, and about to hop on stream. So if you guys want to come hang out, twitch.tv/ShanerFels. See you there. Later.